All right, let's talk geothermal energy now. So geothermal energy, here's where it's available in around the United States. So if it's red on here, it's nice hot regions underground we have access to. If it's orange, it's decently hot temperatures, and so that provides us with certain types of heating. So you see around Buffalo, we have some of that. And then all these other regions around the United States are what we call suitable for geothermal heat pumps, which we'll talk about in more detail in the coming slides, but that's what's pictured right here. So the red and orange are what we think of when we think of like hot springs and Yellowstone kind of stuff. And this is the gray area right here. And so what's geothermal? It's heat that's stored in the soil and rocks and in fluids underground. Okay, and so we can use that then to heat our homes. And a common way to do it, like residentially, just at your own personal house, is what we call a GHP, a geothermal heat pump. So we can use that to heat our house, and the way we do that is we basically use it when there's a difference in temperature above the ground and below the ground. That difference in temperature basically can be utilized to heat and cool a home. And so, depending on your latitude, how far you are from the equator, between 5 and 10 feet underground, it's pretty much constant temperature down there. It's 50 to 55 degrees under the ground. And so that difference in temperature can be utilized. During the winter time, this would be colder than it is outside. And so that difference in temperature, we can actually pull that relative hot air, or that hot from underground, pull it up in and use that to heat the house. During the summer, this is much cooler than it is outside, and we can use that cool difference then to cool your house. And so that can be done in a couple different ways. You can use what we call open loop systems, where you have your well drilled down and you basically suck the water out of this area where there's geothermal activity or where the temperature is a given amount, and then it can go in and cycle in your house, and then you can spit it out in a drainage ditch or a water well or something. Or you can actually use reinjection wells, where we suck the water out here, use it in the house for whatever we need, and then inject it back underground. Again, this is an open loop system, not necessarily the best environmentally speaking. By contrast, you can have closed loop systems. These are a little more environmentally friendly. So you can see this is the looping that's happening underground. So that it runs under there. That's all this kind of this stuff we see here. And then we're pumping that water, we're pumping actually an antifreeze through that, and it's just one basically continuous cycle of horizontal, either slinky loops, pond loops, or just strands of huge horizontal looping of those pipes in and out of the house. And then we recirculate that antifreeze over and over again, basically grabbing the hot or cold and moving it through the area. We can also go a little bit deeper, so we can use hydrothermal reservoirs. These are places that are deeper underground that are really kicking hot, like Yellowstone. And so Iceland's a good example of this. Iceland, we can utilize this heat that's far underground here to heat the homes, heat buildings, or actually turn turbines and create electricity. And so the most active place for that in the world is in Iceland. Now there are two major problems with that. It costs a lot of money to tap into these big, huge things underground. The other thing is we can really deplete the amount of, because we're using steam a lot of the times here, we can deplete that system over time and it can become less efficient and work less well. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this geothermal business? It's very high efficient. So once you get it put in, it is a great way to heat and cool. You have a moderate net energy depending on where you're located, if you're more geothermal active or not. There's no real CO2 emissions. It's very low cost depending if you're in the right place. There's not very much land disruption after it, and the environmental impact is very, very minimal. Disadvantages. There's not a lot of great sites for especially deep geothermal work. You can deplete it rapidly, and so then after you've done that, it doesn't work anymore. Of course, there's no cost impact on the marketplace from the environmental things. You can have CO2 emissions from the development of it, and depending on how it functions, you can actually create CO2 emissions if it's an open loop system or something like that. You can cause air pollution, noise and odor, H2S, that's the rotten egg smell that you smell when you drive on the way to KC or over in Thermopolis. And then it wears down over time, so there's high costs in replacing it and finding accessible sources and all that kind of stuff over time. So there's geothermal in a quick nutshell for you.